So raise your hand if you've heard this conversation, you've heard this topic addressed outside of the classroom, maybe with adults. Have you heard it get really contentious and heated? Okay. It's different in the classroom because this is an opportunity for us to practice some critical thinking skills, to exercise our empathy. Sometimes the most relevant and uncomfortable conversations can be the most fertile ground to cultivate students' critical thinking skills. But too often those conversations are either avoided or mismanaged. Students can feel alienated in the classroom, or sometimes their misconceptions can be reinforced. The Context License Privilege Protocol invites those conversations into the room. The protocol is a facilitation method that turns these topics inside out. Students are asked to wonder, what is their relationship to the topic, and what does that relationship say about their identities?
The protocol is really good. It gives us a structure to talk about really hard topics that normally wouldn't be discussed in school, and it just helps us learn how to talk to one another without getting angry or mad or trying to prove who's right or wrong.
In the protocol, you state your experiences, what allows you to speak about this topic, or what keeps you from speaking about the topic. And then we take turns and we ask different questions. And it's very engaging, and it allows you to see other people's perspectives, and that's a tool you can take with you for the rest of your life.
In the protocol, we circle up and we discuss, I wouldn't say debate, but we discuss different opinions. Like this past one, we had kneeling during the anthem, and some people had different thoughts about that, and it got really deep really quick.
It wasn't a debate type of conversation. We were able to sit and actually hear each other's thoughts and learn a different understanding from my perspective and others.
The protocol requires students to read two different opinion pieces, both espousing diametrically different points of view. The students annotate those opinion pieces, deconstructing their arguments, and then share with each other those different stances. Once they have laid the foundation for the conversation, then students can contribute their point of view. This is where the protocol gets interesting. Students are required to position their opinion within three different response frames. The first response frame is context. Context is when or where a conversation is taking place. Context can also be defined by the participants of the conversation, meaning who is in the room at the time.
The protocol is basically a way of conversating about usually really controversial topics that are not easy to talk about, especially in a classroom setting. You use license, privilege, and context, which is context means where you're at, the year, the location, the group of people that are in the room. For example, a 40-year-old's conversation would be different than a 15-year-old's conversation.
I keep a lot of stuff to myself, and I'm shy with saying a lot of stuff that's on my mind, but when I used the protocol, it was easier to say things that I could never say before, and I didn't think I could do that, so.
The second frame is license. License is a student's conversational right to say something or use certain words, depending on their cultural identity or firsthand experience.
So a license is basically describing yourself without saying your name or anything. So you would be well, for me, I would be okay, well, I'm a black teenager that lives in El Dorado, Arkansas.
Well, I can use the context as in, well, this happened to me, and that might happen to that person, so they can't say, well, you're wrong about this or wrong about that, because it never happened to them. They haven't experienced what I've experienced in the past.
And the license protocol, it's you have a license to talk about certain things. Like the last topic with guns in the school, some of the kids felt like they had the license to talk about certain stuff because they've had somebody to die to gun violence or something. And with this one, people feel like they have more license to say something about it being a bad thing to protest during the anthem because it's disrespecting people in the military. And I think everybody just have a different meaning of it. I feel like you're not going to come to an agreement in a protocol because everybody has a different outlook on it. Everybody is raised a different way and told different things.
The third response frame is privilege. Privilege is defined as an inherent advantage, and sometimes is really hard for students to define themselves.
I have the privilege that I'm a white male who doesn't get stereotyped like as someone else would in my class. But it just helps me to, all the people in our class just help me to understand more about what they can go through and then what I can go through. We all kind of give our own input on that.
I think this conversational protocol is important in this time, especially with helping students navigate those difficult conversations. As they get into high school, there are a lot more difficult topics, and we go into more depth with those topics. And one of our standards in literacy is for students to be able to look at a subject from multiple perspectives. This conversational protocol gives them a framework that they can have that conversation.
I want you to reflect, what did you accomplish individually? Even if you only participated once or twice, you listened, you were present, you were receptive. What did you accomplish as a person? Maybe you shared an idea you never thought you would. Maybe you received other people's ideas more understandingly and empathetically than you had in the past. I'm going to be quiet and let you write for a few minutes, and then we're going to share these out and talk about what we really achieved today, even though we didn't reach a consensus or solve the problem. The objectives are, firstly, to create a really positive classroom culture that invites different perspectives and creates an equitable experience for all students. Secondly, it provides students an opportunity to take a critical look at argumentative writing. So when we read these opinion pieces, we're identifying the argument of each author and their persuasive points or the persuasive elements they use within their op-eds. They annotate, they share. It's a practice in speaking and listening. The Context License Privilege Protocol turns our classroom into a safe space and ensures an equitable learning experience for every student.